Pousada Piuval, or Piuval Lodge, is located on the northern edge of the Pantanal, not far from Pocone. At Bahia Zinha, we explored the riparian woodland biome of the Pantanal. Here we'll explore three more ecosystems. Grasslands, which are often shared with cattle. Marshes, low-lying areas that have water year-round. And the woodland, usually on higher ground that will remain dry even in the flooding and the wet season. It's late afternoon when we arrive, so we're doing a walking safari to explore the grasslands near the lodge before dinner. There are a lot of small birds around the lodge. There are some ponds in the middle of the pasture lands with a large flock of ducks and a few caiman. In the grass near the pond are several Nakunda nighthawks, the kind of nightjar that you usually see on the road on night drives. On the edge of the pasture is a marshy area favored by several species of egret and a few spoonbill. The cattle remind us to step carefully through the pasture. In the middle of the pasture is a large snag. Maguire storks seem to own the tree as their preferred nightly roost. We watch the storks arriving and settling in for the night, and finally take the hint and head back to our roost at the lodge. This morning we're off to a good start. A staff member points out an aracari in a tree by the dining room. We load up and head for the woodlands. We get sidetracked with a brief stop for some interesting birds along the road. Then we're in the woods. It's a tropical deciduous forest with a whole new set of birds. These are the fruit of the macaw palm, so named because the fruit is the favorite food of the macaw. We stopped to get a picture of some howler monkeys in a tree. Down at our feet, some ants are working hard to harvest the flowers of a monkey bush vine. Speaking of insects, this is an unusual beehive, open and hanging from a tree. A little further down the road, we see this small deer at the edge of the forest. Then the road crosses a finger of marshland, and we're in a different ecosystem with a different set of plants and birds. In the marsh, we find the snail kite. These are the dirty dishes left over after the snail kite dines on his favorite thing, the apple snail. Not to worry, there seems to be plenty of snails. These pink masses are snail eggs. Heading back to the lodge, we're in the grasslands again, with grassland birds. Whistling ducks are headed to their roosts for the night. Unlike most ducks, they roost in trees. The Maguire storks have already arrived in their tree, and the light and the clouds are perfect for photographers. How could this be any better? How about getting the moon in the picture? Something like this. Now we just hang around a little while for the sun to set. A great way to end a perfect day. In the morning, on the way to the marsh nearest the lodge, we see a pair of rhea. The rheas here in the Pantanal are the larger of the two rhea species. At the marsh, we see great egrets, wood storks, and roseate spoonbills. The small egrets are snowy egrets. There must be plenty to eat, since they are all getting along. Spoonbills feed by swinging their bill from side to side as they walk through the water. The great egret uses a different strategy. It stands perfectly still, and when a fish, frog, or crayfish happens by, it spears the prey with its bill. Our next stop is the marsh we spent time at yesterday. It's part of a seasonal river named the Rio Bento Gomez. The river flows during the wet season, but becomes a marsh during the dry season. The marsh is home to a wide variety of plants. There's some different species of birds here today, too. The snail kites are still here guarding their territory. We head to the woodlands to look for macaws, but we find black howler monkeys instead. Black howler females are always brown, and males are always black. Go figure. And we see some different birds here too. We had to look really close to see this one. This pale-crested woodpecker is not what we're used to. Nor is this large lizard sticking his head out of an old ant's nest. There are interesting plants here too. While I was photographing the bromeliad, a butterfly stopped by for a snack. We keep seeing new species as we head back to the lodge. A wood stork and some spoonbills have started arriving to their roost tree. It's not as good for photography as last night, but we wait for the moon to rise to see if we can get some good pictures. After dinner, a night drive wasn't very productive. This Potou was the only bird cooperating. In the morning, we leave Pousada Piuval, a very diverse and interesting place.